Swadharma Jnana Vairagya Sadhya Bhaktyeka Gocharaha Narayana Parambrahma Gita Shastre Samiritaha. The purpose of life is life of only one purpose: discovery of the truth, realization of the ultimate reality, attainment of that Parabrahman, Sriman Narayana, as the Gita Shastra loudly declares. Swadharma Jnana Vairagya Sadhya Bhaktyeka Gocharaha. Bhakti reveals Bhagavad. It is through bhakti that we can experience Him. It is with bhakti that we can realize Him. It is with bhakti we can eventually attain Him. And how do we cultivate this bhakti? Summarizing the Gita, the illustrious Yamunacharya says, Swadharma Jnana Vairagya Sadhya Bhaktyeka Gocharaha, he says. One needs to necessarily practice one's Swadharma, acquire right knowledge, practice Vairagya. And by doing so, one can then be ready to practice bhakti, which eventually reveals Bhagavan. Swadharma, therefore, is right at the center of our spiritual journey. In fact, not only the Gita, every Dharma Shastra that we can think of addresses this central question as to what is Swadharma? What is our Dharma? The very word Dharma has several meanings. It is all about answering the question as to what is the right action that is aligned with our true nature. So therefore, when we talk of Dharma, we need to understand our nature. We need to understand how that nature can manifest as action. And when action transforms into duty, only then it is liberating in nature. When we say liberating in nature, any action that keeps us journeying in the cycle of samsara is a wrong action. Any action that helps us progress spiritually, which is nothing but purification that happens all the time. When I do an action, there are two things that happen. There is an outer result, there is an inner result. The outer result is very easy for us to relate to. Most often, we ignore the inner result of an action. The inner result is what is the seed that would determine the course of our journey in samsara. So therefore, a right action is that action that purifies us internally all the time. So when we ask this question as to what is dharma, what is right action, we see how Krishna takes us through 18 chapters of the Gita in order to give us total clarity to this question. And in the process of analyzing action, in the process of giving us an exposition on the art and science of right action, Krishna takes up this topic of VarNa Dharma. No, VarNa Dharma possibly is the most misunderstood concept. Unfortunately, the practice of VarNa Dharma is no longer prevalent, and therefore our understanding of VarNa Dharma is so very limited with so many misinterpretations, misrepresentations, we need to have total clarity on what is Varna Dharma and why Krishna takes up Varna Dharma in the process of his exposition on the art and science of right actions. So therefore, Varna Dharma is integral, is at the very core of right actions. So what we are going to do in this session is to try to unravel the mystery, try to demystify Varna and Dharma and understand Varna Dharma as explained by Krishna in the Gita. Now, repeatedly we are told and we recognize this fact that we are all special. Human life is very precious because we are gifted with some unique endowments. Our intellect is very unique to us. Of all the living species, human beings alone have this faculty of intellect, and more importantly, the faculty to choose, to decide, to will. The power to will, the power to make choices is very unique to human beings. Desiring is our unique endowment. Desiring is so very important. Desiring can take us forward or can push us backward. So therefore, we need to also understand the role that desires and desiring plays in our own life journey. If we really look at it, our life with its varied pursuits is nothing but a quest for completeness. Now, we are all aspiring for completeness. Let's understand what this completeness means. In our day-to-day life, in our life and living, we always have this nagging sense of a lack. Whatever we do, at whatever station of life we are in, there is this nagging sense of incompleteness. Whatever we achieve, when I have $1,000 in my pocket, I feel incomplete. I feel lack. When I have $1 million in my pocket, still that sense of incompleteness remains. Whatever I achieve, there is always the sense of lack. I always seem to be wanting more. And in that process, life and living is all about accumulation. Having more, accumulating more. Because of the sense of lack, I always believe that only by acquiring something, I can address this incompleteness in me. So therefore, our journey of life is a life towards completeness, from a state of incompleteness to a state of completeness, a quest for completeness. But the question is, are we complete at all? Can we, is the question, because we have been like this ever since we were born. And if we really look, completeness being the goal, can we reach this goal at all? Is something which also concerns us all the time. If we need to look at how we can achieve this completeness, we need to understand two very important things. Knowing our nature, completeness is possible only when there is connection and there is contribution. We need to remember these 3 C's. Connection, contribution, completeness. Completeness is a state when I know that I don't need anything to make me happy. I'm complete. This is what the shAstras call Purnatva, Sampurnatva. Only when I give more than I take, I can experience this completeness. So therefore, giving, contribution becomes so very important. And only when I stay connected to what is what we all ask. We are all are parts, integral parts of one whole. No, we need to understand this principle of the relationship between us, this universe, and Bhagavan. And I keep giving this analogy to understand this principle so very easily. The analogy of the cells. A cell is a part, the body is a whole. W-H-O-L-E. Without a W, it's very misleading. Now, the part, the cell, belongs to the whole, and it has no separate existence. It is always connected with the whole. The business of the cell is to do the work for the body. And in that process, the nature of the cell is to give, without asking for anything. Receiving happens automatically. Receiving happens automatically without any effort, because the body takes care of the welfare of the cell. Any cell in the body, a liver cell, a stomach cell, a lung cell, any cell keeps giving. And how does it receive? The body takes care of its well-being. So therefore, staying connected and contributing more than receiving are integral to feeling the sense of completeness. In order for us to journey towards completeness, our shAstras talk about a system, a framework of a fourfold goals of life. This is very important for us to understand. All our shAstras provide us with a system where we can use this framework to define the goals in our life. This is called the system of Purusharthas, fourfold goals. A system which caters to everyone. It caters to every, irrespective of background, irrespective of one's station in life. And the fourfold goals of human life are listed as dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma is all about duty, righteous duty. Artha, wealth. Kama, fulfillment of desires. Moksha, liberation. The beauty of this fourfold system, fourfold goals, is it gives us the freedom to evolve in our life journey and set our goals progressively and going one step at a time. Our shAstras always insist on taking smaller steps. There is no demand that we all need to become mumukshus day one. Because to become a mumukshu, we first need to understand moksha. To understand moksha, we need to understand Krishna, we need to know him, we need to experience him. And it takes time, it is a journey. Only based on conceptual knowledge, intellectual understanding, one will not become a mumukshu. Intellectual understanding has to transform into experience and realization, which is a process. Therefore, in this journey, our shAstras help us to make this journey richer. And therefore, when we look at the goals talk about artha and kama. Fulfillment of desires is something which is very much allowed as long as the fulfillment of desires is based on dharma. Artha, creating wealth, is very much okay. Our shAstras do not talk about us retiring from life and going to Himalayas. Therefore, but as long as dharma is followed, artha is very much welcome. In fact, artha and kama are integral to our life and living. If somebody says, kill all your desires and there ends the matter, then we should know that it is impractical. It's very easy to say. It's very easy to say, once the desires vanish, one gets liberated. But will the desire ever vanish? It is impossible to kill desires. So therefore, we need to then look at how, in the process of fulfilling our desires, how do we choose the right desires to fulfill? How do we manage our desires? Desire management becomes so very important. More important than trying to kill desires. In the process of managing desires, slowly we realize there is one desire which is the mother of all desires. And when we hook on to that desires, every other unwanted desire, worldly desire will dissolve by itself. Similarly, artha, also creating wealth based on dharma is so very integral, but we also realize that the artha has its place in the journey. It makes the journey comfortable. We are here in an air-conditioned room, very comfortably seated, and we are dwelling on a very profound topic. It is because of artha that we are in a way comfortably learning shastras. Imagine if I go to a hut in a slum and I start teaching the same Varna Dharma, possibly I would have not even half a minute of attention from anyone there. So it is important to realize that artha also has a role in our life and living. It is all about integrating kama, integrating artha, rooted in dharma, and eventually integrating all of this within the ambit of moksha. So therefore, the system of the fourfold goals of Purushartha enables us to journey at our own pace. There is no pressure. I don't need to look at somebody else and be pressured that somebody else is progressing faster than me. That happens when it comes to material progress. I may look at somebody and saying, today I have one car, he has two cars. I have 1 million, he has 10 million. And I will be very, very pressured. I can possibly do this comparison materially, which is of no use anyway. But when it comes to spiritual progress, there is no need for comparison. There is no need for pressure. Each and every one of us have our own path, our own journey. We are at different points. But the key here, unlike in the material path where we get pressured, in the spiritual journey, we get inspired by others. And there is no need for comparison to be pressured, because it is all about integrating all these goals and bringing them all together under the umbrella of one goal of all goals, the ultimate goal. So, when we talk about our life journey, then two things become very important. Goals and our duties. Now, interestingly, both of these are totally ignored in our life and living. If we have to reflect on how we lead our lives, how many of us set goals? How many of us not only set goals, regularly monitor how we attain our goals? I mean, I can ask here, can anyone, within satsang we can be very brave, there is no need to be shy. Do we have a set of goals based on which we shape our life and living? How many of us have defined set of goals? Can you raise your hands? This is very, very common. And we are all in satsang now for almost 10 years plus. The interesting part is, not just spiritual goals. We don't even have a framework for goals in general. So therefore, two important aspects of life and living: goals, duties. This is another area where we are completely confused. how many days, how many weeks, how many months, how many years we keep asking ourselves, am I really doing the right thing which will make me happy? Because when we say duty, duty is not work. There is a difference between duty and work. We all work. But the work that we do can transform into duty only when two things happen. One, it makes us feel complete, makes us feel content, supremely happy. And number two, we can see how we are progressing on the spiritual path. When I say progress, how do you benchmark yourself on the progress on spiritual path? The equanimity of your mind, your ability to respond to situations, manage the dualities of life. So these are all various ways to benchmark ourselves to see, are we really progressing on this path? So if not, we are only working. We are not performing duties. Also, the nature of the work that we do, how often we ask this question to ourselves. Is there a harmony between the work that I do and my own nature? How harmoniously my life is structured? Because many a times we don't even discover whether the work that we do and our own interests, aspirations, inclinations, proclivity, attitudes are all aligned. Because we grow up in a system where the parents hold the neck of the child and put them in a specific class. You know, when a boy or a girl is born, whether he has to become a doctor or as an engineer is already decided. And we all go through an education process without really understanding, are we preparing for a career, for a profession, for work, for making money? We don't know. Finally, when the crucial time comes, Bhagavan's blessings, we end up somewhere in a job which gives us money, and then without us realizing, we progress. And then after 15, 20 years of working, we keep asking ourselves, maybe I shouldn't have been in this line. I'm a misfit, a total misfit. But then it's too late. So goals, duties, neither fully understood nor implemented. Therefore, Gita addresses this duty, swadharma, in great detail.